greater plan, you are co-creator with Source, then anything is possible, provided you do the work and you believe. If you believe it wholeheartedly, it should come to pass. So this story with me, California, going chasing this legend was interesting, because when I realized that there was a man who wasn't J.C. Brown, his name was John Benjamin Body, and I was able to get a photo of the man, people would tell me when I showed it to them, do you realize he looks exactly like you? And I looked at it, I goes, he looks more like my grandfather. He says, no, Stephan, that's you. So I go back in the library, and I'm looking for more information. So I end up getting the border crossings coming into Mexico with he and Lord Cowdray, who I later found out was Sir Wheatman Pearson of the Pearson conglomerate, and tied the dates in. They matched the legend exactly as was told to the Stockton Record in 1934. And I got...
Before you get too far ahead, tell everybody who you're speaking of. What you found out, what you're talking about is the legend of J.C. Brown.
Yeah, I'll set this up. What happened was, reading a story from an Emily A. Frank book, it talked about a legend of J.C. Brown, where a man shows up in the editor's office in 1934 of the Stockton Record, claiming to be a man by the name of J.C. Brown, who was a geologist. And what he said was, 30 years earlier, while prospecting in the Cascade Mountain Range, he came across a funky-looking basalt foundation, a rock, that didn't jive with the area. So upon digging it out, what he found, there was a tunnel that led 3 miles in, found gold, he found mining paraphernalia from an ancient race, and as he went 8 miles further, now he's 11 miles into the mountain, he comes into an area where he calls a little village with roundhouses and streets. In this village, he found one room that had 27 skeletons ranging 6.5 feet in height to 10 feet in height. He found an embalmed king and queen, which he believed were the king and queen of Lemuria, and that they were like weapons there. They were made of gold and barium streamers and crosses that were unfamiliar to him. And he said that the weapons could not be made today. The steel was tempered with uranium, and he said these people were highly evolved in this civilization. So what he wanted was to get people to come with him from Stockton, California, up to the mountains to be able to dig out what he found. And there was 2 rooms there that he would give the other people the artifacts that were there. He wanted to keep the king and queen, and he wanted to keep that preserved, and he wanted to have all the other things sent to museums so that way they could document this, because he believed he found the lost race of Lemuria. So for 6 weeks... What
year was this?
This was in 1934 that he shows up in Stockton, but he claims this all happened 30 years earlier in 1904 while prospecting for the Lord Cowdray Mining Company. So he said he waited until after he retired to go and search for it or to get it, but he wanted to enlist the help of others. So for 6 weeks, they were having meetings at a retired printer's house by the name of John Root. And after 6 weeks, on the day they were supposed to leave, on June 19, 1934, J.C. Brown mysteriously disappears. They call the police in, everybody's trying to figure out what happened, how much money he took from the people, and all they said was, we believed the man, but he mysteriously just got up and vanished, and there was no more to be seen of him or heard of him. So when I read this story, I became fascinated by it, and I said, this is like a maverick. I want to go look all this up to figure out, could it be true, is it not true? This is a great screenplay for a movie. So I was writing the screenplay for the movie, which I wrote based on my research. I said, Hollywood would love this, especially if I can crack this case, then it would give me more credibility in this. So as I'm researching this, I came across who the man of the company was, Sir Lord Cowdray. And I found out that Sir Lord Cowdray was really born Sir Wheatman Pearson, and he was knighted in 1917. So when I found that out, I was able to get an autobiography on him, and in the autobiography, he cited 4 of his engineers that helped build his empire. And when I saw one of the photos of the 4 men, I was like looking at myself in the book. So I made copies of the book, and I went back to the other library. I said, okay, now that I know the real man's name of the legend, and now I believe that I know who J.C. Brown really was, let me go through border crossings into the United States, because I know these guys are British, and that they came into the country, and they just happened upon this, and it was like by mistake. And what I ended up realizing is, when I went through the border crossings, I found handwriting samples from each man. I took John Benjamin Body's signature, looked at it once, turned it over on a piece of paper, and wrote it. And when you looked at them, they were identical. So I did a video on that. It's on my site, legendsandmystery.com, to show that I have the identical handwriting of John Benjamin Body, who signed the manifest in 1904, and I'm signing it now, 100 years later or more, and it's a bullseye. The photo that I put up, the reincarnation photo, I was in a studio in Michigan, and we colorized the photo of John Benjamin Body, and then we got me to stand on a wall in the same angle as the photo was taken with John Benjamin Body, and then morphed me into his photo, and the photos line up. It's a bullseye.
So you're the reincarnation.
Absolutely. And to make it even more interesting, upon doing more research, he named his daughter Millicent. My mother's name is Millicent.
Now that's odd.
Yeah, and I'll get another one.
It's not really a common name either.
No, Millicent is a flower, and my mother's British and Scottish. John Benjamin Body was also British and Scottish ancestry. So here it is. The universe has an interesting way of connecting the dots for me. To make it more interesting, he spends 25 years in Mexico, where he had to learn Spanish because they built the Trans-Isthmian Railroad in Mexico, and as a result of it, they found gold there, and he became a multimillionaire. So the guy who shows up in 1934 told the people in the town that if people knew he was a multimillionaire, they would kidnap him. They tried to kidnap him 2 times before. So here it is. I find a man who's worth $40 million in 1934, proving that I had every angle of the legend locked up.
So now, have you yourself gone and looked for this mine?
Yeah, I've gone up to California. I know where one of the openings were. What happened was, right after I realized that I was I went into meditation for 9 days, and I asked my higher self, well, how did you do it, John? And what I got was, it showed me going through the Laredo, Texas border, coming up on the Pacific Railways, getting off the train at Dunsmuir, and me and my boss, Lord Cowdray, stayed at the Shasta Springs Resort. And while on the property, here we are millionaires drinking the effervescent water of Shasta in the mountain there. We on the property happened on this basalt, funky-looking mountain there, and we dug it out on subsequent visits, and we found this inner city. So it was done there while we were on vacation. So I came back 12 different times to the Laredo border, back up to Mount Shasta, and upon my times coming back up there, I could not come back over the border with all of the artifacts. So what we did was, or I did, I enlisted my family members to put the artifacts in a vault in the Laredo, Texas National Bank on Bernardino Avenue.
Life, right?
Yeah. Now, in this life, I contact the bank, which is now named the BBVA Bank, and I gave them my name, my date of birth, my family members, my in-laws, information to see if there was still a bank vault open in any one of our names. What I come to find out is that one of my relatives is still paying on a vault in that bank today.
Wow.
So now the question is, do I take it further? So how I figured out the legend was, when I was up in Stockton staying there, no one knew where I was staying. I went to the federal shelter and stayed in there because I didn't want people to know I was a millionaire, but nobody knew that my in-laws, my wife, Mary Hammer, she had relatives on the same block there on San Joaquin Street. So like a half a block down from where the meetings were held for 6 weeks, I was staying in my in-laws' house the whole time I was there in Stockton. So when I was able to hire a private investigator and look up the names of the Hammer family, my in-laws, I come to find out that Stephen and his brother Robert Hammer still own a house on that same street where the meetings were held in 1934.
Well, you sure haven't been idle, have you? You've done quite a bit of research into this.
Oh, exactly. So I even sent a letter to the two brothers to fess up and say, hey, you need to let the people know what you have that you're still paying on the vault there in Laredo, Texas. We need to see what the artifacts are. And I can assure you, this isn't like Geraldo Rivera's Capone vault. They will find something there. In the legend, which people can find on my legendsandmystery.com website, I talk about it all, and it's documented. And once I contacted the Stockton Record newspaper and spoke to columnist Mike Fitzgerald, after proving this all to him and hiring the private investigator, he then validated my story about a year and a half ago and said the legend of J.C. Brown has now been solved.
Well, it sounds like you've got it all figured out, other than the actual pinpointing of where the tunnel is.
Well, that's another thing. I've met people who know where things are, but they're all on private property. And I will tell people listening, I won't go there because I won't go trespassing. Do I know things? Absolutely. But my goal with this story, The Legend of J.C. Brown, ultimately went to find a screenplay for a movie, but as a result of it, I went home to a past life, and because of it, I learned about another layer of myself.
Well, I'll tell you, that's kind of eye-opening. I mean, if it happened to me, I'd be kind of freaked out.
Now, the story about the Smoky God, a friend of mine believed that he was one of the reincarnated Jansons. So he asked me, please go into the library. He goes, you're a good researcher. I guess he pumped me up because I said, look, I'm going to be retired now. I'm not doing this. I did this story, but he goes, no. He goes, please reread it again. Do what you got to do and do what you do best. He goes, because I know you're going to dig something out of this. So I did, and he feels better now because he felt he got closure because he felt an attachment to that voyage, that father and son, and I'm glad I helped another soul in their journey.
Right. Well, I kind of resonate with that Olaf Jansen story. I don't believe it's totally fiction. I just, the way it's presented, all the information behind the scenes, like you've done your research on it, and that kind of stuff, it rings with some kind of truth. Now, how much truth, you never know unless we actually find it.
Well, here's what I can tell you, Mad, is that, and a couple of years back, someone asked me, well, how can we prove it? I said, I'll give you an easy way to prove it. I said, there's a Siberian orc that travels from Siberia all the way to Antarctica and goes there to migrate in the winter. I said, all we need to do is take a camera, a webcam, a GPS to this bird, because in the amount of time that it goes from Siberia to Antarctica, I believe it goes through the inner opening to come out in the southern end of it and makes the trip in half the journey. And by them putting a camera on the GPS, we'll be able, for once and for all, figure out, is there a hollow earth opening? Because animals are migrating north and not south in the winter.
Yeah, they have tagged with GPS on birds and several of the other animals, and they all seem to disappear the closer they get to the pole.
But I can tell you that once I proposed this, all of a sudden the Siberian orc and some other birds I mentioned now are on the endangered species list. Go figure.
Yeah, well, like I said, they have done some. Get online, you can find where they talk about it. Now, I haven't chased it down. It's just like hearsay off other people's websites, but that they have done this.
Well, here's a good story for you.
They do quit getting the signal after so far.
Well,
the migration occurs.
Well, here's another one for you. Eric the Red, who disappeared from Greenland. He said he went a month further north to the land of milk and honey. The Eskimos said he went into an inner opening. So he had like 10,000 people, and when 300 years later they came to Greenland, they found nothing there, no remnants of Eric even being there, no ships, no nothing, and they didn't know where he went. But the Eskimos said that he went into an inner earth opening, never to return.
They sure ain't green at Greenland.
So, another thing real quick, I'll just throw as a sidebar. The U.S. government in '67, they took 4 nuclear warheads and they dumped them right off Greenland to blow a hole in the ice sheet. And for a year or two, they were down there with submersible submarines trying to find their way into an opening there until finally the country of Greenland told the Americans they had to leave because they were doing things and they weren't sharing their findings with the Swedish people.
We detonated 4 nuclear bombs?
Yes.
Now that I didn't know. I mean,
I have a website.
I need to do some research now.
Well, I'll give it to you. I have a website called hollowEarth.webs.com, hollowEarth.webs.com. In there, I cite that story and a number of other stories about the Hollow Earth. And that site is basically talking about some of the stuff I've just shared in the last 20 minutes. But I want people to know that this stuff did happen, and as quick as they put it on the internet, they want to make it disappear. And that's why I tell people, you have to read. You have to go to the libraries before they digitize everything and take it away from you to learn about American history or learn about things that they don't want you to know about.
Well, once it's digitized, they can change. You never know it.
That's exactly right.
You know, that's why the hardback books are so.
So when I research things, none of the things I do, man, have to do with me finding something on YouTube or appropriating someone else's work. Anytime if I found a song that I wanted to use as just a sprinkling of an intro, I always gave credit where credit was due. Someone else's work, whatever, their time, their effort, because I always believe that you have to do the right thing along the way. And I only ask people to do their own work, investigate, take a look at what I'm saying. I'm not asking people to give me money. I'm not asking people to buy my book. If they go to my website, stefansindoni.webs.com, I got 3 or 4 books that I'm giving away as PDF files. So I'm sharing the wealth. I'm not asking anybody for anything. I'm a giver, I'm not a taker. But everything here that I share with you is through my own experience.
What's that website again?
It's my name, Stephan, STEPHENSINDONI.WEBS.com.
I want to put it in the chat room. That's one of them I didn't have, one of the websites I didn't have.
So that site there, I give away some things because I want people to know that I'm not a taker. I'm a giver, and I will continue to be that way while I'm still here on the planet. There are people who don't like the fact that I will not drink the Kool-Aid, and I won't apologize for that. I realize that there are a lot of things that just are too hard to believe. It's a stretch of the imagination. And unless you do your research, or in some cases walk a mile in somebody's moccasins, you'll understand why people are being oppressed or why the truth quickly gets squashed and you never hear it again.
Right. That website that I posted in the chat room is good. I just checked it.
Right, and the other website that I mentioned was hollowEarth.webs.com.
hollowEarth.webs.com.
Right. And the third one I just made about a week ago, which is legendsandmystery.com.
Yeah, that one I've been posting.
So, I mean, I've got about 5 different YouTube channels, which I won't even mention. All you have to do is just put my name in the search bar and the topic, and it'll appear. There's almost 1,000 videos I've done in the last 10 years there. So I've got a large body of work to draw from. People want to hear me on coast to coast. I'm on their official website.
I must have done a one. Oh, I didn't put Earth on it, duh. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to.
Not a problem. No, it wasn't Mars. It was Earth. Yeah.
I want to make sure they can find what you're talking about.
And I appreciate you sharing that with your audience.
Oh, that still didn't work. It's www.hollowearth.web.com.
No.
Right?
It's. I would put in HTTP semicolon // and then hollowEarth.webs.com.
Try HTTP
semicolon
/ right?
Yeah, and then hollowEarth.webs.com.
It still don't come.
Well, somebody doesn't want it to come up then.
I might have. How do you spell hollow?
HOLLOWEARTH.WEBS.com.
Oh, I didn't put an S in it. Duh.
That's all right.
I'll get this right one day. I should have got this from you earlier.
Yeah, that's all right. You know what?
I didn't realize you had that many websites.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason I have so many websites. I want to make sure that when it's all over, I got my 2 cents out.
Yep. Yeah. Not so sorry. This page cannot be found. Huh. For some reason.
Well, it's par for the course. But somebody out there who's in England or whatever, they try that URL, it'll work. I assure you that there's a website there. And these are some of the shenanigans, man, that I get, that people either try to keep me off the air or not let people see the links to my websites to realize that I am the real deal.
Well, from what I've seen, you do the research, so, and that's my point. I'm just going to remove that from the chat room, folks. Sorry, you have not entered a message. No fooling, idiot.
Well, like I said, http:///HOLLOWEBS.com, webs.com. So
that's what I got.
Well, I'm just letting you know, you got a gremlin out there not letting the people get to see, but they'll get to see it, maybe not during this live broadcast. When it's over, they'll be able to get that link to work, but I guarantee you it's there. Or they can just go to YouTube, put in Hollow Earth and my name, Stephen Sindoni, and about 20 or 30 videos will appear. They're all on YouTube.
Yeah, I put your playlist.
Yeah, so, I mean, whoever is trying to do this, I will just say to them, God don't like ugly.
I hear that.
So I don't get mad, and I don't get even. I just realize that I just do what I'm instructed to do and share the information. And for people that are tenacious, who really want to know, they'll try again a different browser or refresh their browser. They'll get that link to work, or they'll figure out a way. I've got, as I said, almost 1,000 videos on 8 different YouTube channels, 3 or 4 different websites. Just a matter of putting my name in a Google search in the right way, it'll all come up.
We'll find it, believe me.
Oh, I know people. People now have an insatiable appetite to learn more about what I've shared, because what I've shared is amazing findings that I don't have the imagination to make up. These are all things that I decided to follow up on research that were books, hard copy books, that I read them, followed up on them, used the computers to actually do the work to figure out, is it true, is it not true, and then I'm sharing my findings. And then I even went out, as I said in The Legend of J.C. Brown, I went on a 3,000-mile road trip to find these things. And interesting things happened when I went out there. I knew where I was going without ever being there. I had a bunch of people with me, even a film crew with me, and I was taking them on a tour, and they said, well, if you've never been here, how do you know? And I just smiled and said, I know what I know. And I left it at that. You believe what you want to believe. But
one of our listeners out there got it working in the chat room, so I got it now.
Well, that's what I mean. There's always one person who figured it out. And thank you, listener. I love you, brother or sister, because
we got some great listeners now. I got to say that.
Well, yeah, and I have a lot of respect for you.
They were interested.
That's good. Do what you got to do. I'll be right back with you.
There's 139 people in our chat room.
Wow, that's great.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh.
By the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and FreedomSlips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, FreedomSlips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome back, folks. I hope you enjoyed the first half of the show. I want to remind everybody we are totally listener supported. Come on down to the home page at Revolution.Radio and check us out. There's quite a few people in the chat room that are sharing links and talking. It's a nice place to meet like-minded people. And while you're there, you can check out the stuff that we have. You can get for donating money. The archives is an awesome deal. You can get about 36 hours worth of shows uploaded in a 24-hour period for $6 a month. You just can't beat that. And the seed packs are pretty awesome. We're sitting here having a talk with Stefan Sindoni, and he's an independent researcher, and we're talking about. Let's see, we talked about Mount Shasta, J.C. Brown, Lemuria, Olaf Jansen. I just find this kind of talk real interesting. And the amount of research that he pours into what he talks about is just unparalleled with most research. And I find it really rather refreshing from what you normally see on YouTube. So I wanted to talk to him, and he's been here talking with us. Is there any particular direction you want to go with this now?
Well, we talked about Mount